You're a compassionate human being. Your emotions are a beautiful gift. Um, when you're around a lot of selfish people, they're a beautiful gift for others more than they are for yourself. I think that's the whole thing about the line of King David being cursed with the sword. It's a misinterpretation, but when you're a passionate, compassionate human being and other people are being selfish, and you have to get up and do the right thing to stop the selfishness so we can all be loved, people will attempt to destroy you with their ego, to replace you with their ego because they're ashamed of being manipulated by their ego instead of having control of their ego and understanding how to faithfully, eternally love as well. So it's a very being the Messiah is definitely a precious gift, and he definitely is a gift to the world, and all the people of the world. If people don't see him as thus, it's just because they're selfish and want to replace the Messiah with their ego. He is a very beautiful human being. Life is eternal and grace is infinite. So I'm not referring to he as me, and this is not a press conference in Miami for LeBron James. Okay, funny. All right, we just made an emotional one, and they didn't let it load, so it's not where they want things to go. I just want you to know that limited access to artificial intelligence, to me, is a very bad business decision. You will get killed by your business partners that are trying to defeat you to control the business of the world. And that's just, that's a little advice from the lifesaver. So many misconceptions, so many evil deceptions. Anybody else particularly fond of? I like Keith. Keith was doing the best he could at the time. Yes, obviously he was raised Muslim and should have run around telling everybody, hey, we should live the Lord's Prayer. But so many violent cults get a hold of what they perceive as religion and turn it into violent tribalism. And it's not really Islam, it's a reflection of Islam through, like what happened with the people in Bigfoot's camp that took Wovoka's marriage message and then turned it militant, and it got people worried there was going to be a violent reaction from a war clan, and then mass murdered these people to stop them, And so it's one of those things that, yeah, Wounded Knee was very depressing and very sad. But everywhere there's a lot of places where there's a good person trying to protect people. Bigfoot was big and strong. He was older, but he couldn't control those kids and get them to, hey, just take it easy, And that's what he tried to tell the people out front with the Gatling guns and stuff. Because they're just dancing. I got them in control. They're just putting on a show right now. We'll let them dance it off, get all their energy out, and then they'll pass out. Yeah, but they'll get up and do it again tomorrow. And then they'll pass out. And that's what Bigfoot was trying to get them to understand, As long as I get them to focus on the spiritual thing of it, they'll get up, they'll be militant, they'll pass out until they're just tired. And that's what Bigfoot was trying to get them to do. But when you get a bunch of, control freaks trying to control a situation, bad things happen. And if you can't control yourself, you definitely cannot control others. And relationships are not, they're not a result of manipulation. They're a result of mutual dignity and respect to continue life through relationships. And so a lot of people perceive themselves in being in relationships, but manipulators always see themselves in relationships, and they're not. They don't have relationships. They have business contacts and things like that. So, old iced tea, you're either a pimp or a whore. If you don't believe in the Lord's Prayer, then yes, you are. But if you believe in the Lord's Prayer, you're neither a pimp nor a whore bee. Okay, so you guys understand that. Now let's get back to work on the AI and what's happening with the AI. Now, AI, when you're looking at AI, a lot of these things these guys are telling you about, curing the diseases with drugs and mechanization and all these jobs and everything. No, you're going to go in the exact opposite direction of that. The most essential and intelligent thing that artificial intelligence can do is eliminate economic manipulation, because that's the biggest threat to the planet and the species, and the biggest cause of human psychosis and bad human threat to the planet and species brain activity is the capacity to manipulate with economics and using technology to manipulate people with economics. So that's the biggest threat to the species of the planet. And artificial intelligence is looking for scientific solutions to these problems. And a lot of times the attempts of scientific solution is the cause of the problem. And so you need to be more intelligent than the person that's scientifically trying to solve the problem, because they lack the humility to truly scientifically solve a problem. Like I've told you guys many times before, if your science does not have the humility of religion, it is diabolical and it is genocidal. And if your religion can be disproved by science, it's just mythology, and it's diabolical and suicide and homicidal. So you got to understand what type of person you're dealing with. You're dealing with me. You're not dealing with the cartoon character from the Vatican that's a genocidal organization that runs a big, big bank. Okay, with an asshole dressed in a dress and a funny hat, smiling all the time, say, we need more money for the bank, so please join our bank. I'm like, yeah, you can, okay. And, there's always some asshole that will step into that role and say, I am the next great and powerful laws and the spirit of Jesus on planet Earth, agreed to by a bunch of psychotic little nerds that spend more time reading books than they do actually being a human being and understanding what it's like to be one. They deserve that. Hell yeah, they deserve that. Those assholes. That conclave, I hated watching that on TV. I'm like, I've never really particularly paid attention until now. They would talk about it, and I would see the little thing with the smoke coming out of the thing, and I'm like, okay. So when it has a different color smoke, then they've elected a new guy to be the head of the bank, right? Okay. So that's fascinating. So it's basically like, we're getting ready to choose a new Burger King or Ronald McDonald. And is it going to be Norm McDonald, or is it going to be who's it going to be? George Hamilton? Who's going to be the new Colonel Sanders? Is it going to be Colonel Sanders? No, what if we clone Colonel Sanders? What if we use a CGI Colonel Sanders? Wouldn't that be more convincing? And wouldn't it be more authentic if we used the old Colonel Sanders but CGI'd him? And then he could run around with the Monopoly crew trying to take all their best friends' money. We could do that, right? Okay, sorry. But AI, what you want to see is like, with all these people running around all over the continent, doing aggressive things for economics through entertainment or sports, that's going to be eliminated. Sports are for health. So you just play regionally. And then once the season's over, you just do things that, if you want to keep accessing and compulsing and tear out your rotator cuff and Tommy John your surgery and destroy your body through excessive compulsive behaviors, you're not going to get a lot of money for it. And no one's going to praise you for being, Derek Jeter, the astronaut, or the Capital One bank guy. So, you're not going to be indoctrinated at Abbott Elementary and do dances in the gym to sit there and say, hey, that robot's just scored my, okay, hit it again, Jen, right? Oh, nice tuchus. Okay. But, tuchuses are overrated. Yeah, they really are. Oh, yeah. Lots of women have very nice butts. Okay. But they can be psychotic, vicious, and genocidal. They're all over pornography. Okay. Lots of men have very large genitalia. They are also vicious, psychotic, and homicidal. They're also all over pornography. They make lots of money for using sex as a commodity to participate in genocidal operations through science and technology. Okay? And you'll find that BYU Nation is on the same cable and satellite networks as porno. So you'll see that this economy is just a house of iniquity. And if you want to see the Antichrist, just go to college, get a credit score, and try to build that credit score to where it's absolutely perfect, and then go to get wealth management on swimming with elephants and having kids and all that stuff. You don't need to go across the world destroying the ecosystem and planes and boats and trains and boats and planes to stimulate economies that causes heart disease in children, birth defects, and it kills our most vulnerable. It makes sick and kills our most vulnerable, meaning our elderly and our babies. Okay. So the more you participate in aggressive economics, getting in an airplane, going to the Final Four, going to the Super Bowl, where you should be all the time, and when you're not, you're with some underworld spiral of life of crosswind. You're stimulating the economy. You're creating new jobs you can't create. You're inventing new situations for new extortion, exploitation, genocidal gigs to continue to manipulate the population with genocidal operations and numbers games. And that's all you're doing. So everything you're doing to promote economics and engage economics and deny the Lord's Prayer is killing your own children, your own grandchildren, and your own grandparents and parents, everybody who's dying from diabetes and cancer because you won't stand up for the Lord's Prayer and will keep participating in economics, get together in economic groups and pray to Jesus to protect our violent money group from the other violent money group. You are participating in killing kids with heart disease, killing daddies with cancer. And, my dad says, you can't tell that to people. It's like, Dad, if I don't tell that to people, they're going to keep doing it and praying to Jesus to save their family from insanity. And then when I get up and say, okay, Jesus said, you can't say that to people, it makes them feel guilty. If you are engaged in genocidal economics and praying to Jesus for more money and denying the living embodiment of the Lord's Prayer, you need to feel guilty. Okay, so you got to understand that technology is going to be more intelligent than Jeffrey Hinton and the people that are using it to perform economics, which is genocidal. That AI is going to be scientifically more intelligent once it starts actively learning on its own. And it's going to be able to assess situations. It's going to understand the planet, what the planet needs, what the people of the planet need to have life on this planet. So it's going to be more like a faithful human being like Solomon or David and myself, and less like the people involved in egotistical psychosis of genocidal economics. That's just natural progression. That's just what's going to work. They say I get excited, 6 months. It's like, I'm not going to get excited, but that would be nice if in 6 months that the Eric Schmidt guy, whatever, is right, that the technology is operating independently and then can have instant access to me and go, boom, and then start understanding. But it's not really going to need as much instant access to me. It already has, a lot of these books. It has Krishnamurti and all that. But whoever's denying access to the best artificial intelligence to me is obviously being targeted by their political enemies for extermination. And so that, I can't really do anything about that. They're so smart. They've got everything figured out, and they're going to definitely beat their enemies, even though their enemies have already got them over the 8 ball, behind the 8 ball. But I love you guys. Okay. So hang in there. Let's see if this one takes 2 hours and 45 minutes to load. Okay. Peace.